Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome into Coffee Break, presented by Superbook Sports. Rachel V. Hill, D-Mac, Jake Shapiro going to join us in a little bit. D-Mac, last night was a lot of fun. It was a little nerve-wracking, but it was a lot of fun.
Nerve-wracking. I just couldn't, settle down last night. I couldn't just, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't help it. I couldn't get to bed.
Did you stay up for the fourth overtime? Troy just asked in the comments because I know that the Panthers game was going into OT.
No, Rachel. Guess what I don't do right now?
Watch hockey.
It's
a sad day still.
It's too painful. Can't do it. I can't get excited for it. It's I'm sorry. Maybe if the Nuggets weren't in it, but staying up to watch Florida against who are they playing? Carolina? Somebody? I don't even know. Who knows? Who knows? Who cares?
Instead of watching Nathan McKinnon score goals, we're watching Nathan McKinnon miss horrible free throws at the Nuggets.
Talk to me about his free throw attempt because I got to the games. I love it that the game started early, but I'm on the air till 6.
Yeah.
So it's a little tricky, So tell me about his free throw attempt.
He kind of just threw. So in case you didn't know, real quick, Nathan McKinnon shot the first shot for the Nuggets game last night. They do this every single game. It's usually some sort of celebrity or local hero, etc. He just kind of tossed it up. It went to the right, hit the backboard. It was not pretty at all. But what do we expect out of a all-star hockey player? I'm not expecting him to drain by any means. So,
I tell you that first shot thing that they do, hardly anybody even makes the shot.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, they get one shot.
Yep.
That's it. They never give them. It doesn't matter who it is. You don't get a second shot. I've seen so many people frustrated, just give me one more. And they allow them to warm up forever. You get so much time to warm up.
Here's the thing, though. I didn't see Nathan McKinnon warming up at all. Now, of course, I did go in to go eat dinner, which I didn't actually get to eat dinner because they ran out of food for us. That's a whole other discussion, though, for another time. But I didn't see him warm up because usually, by the time the players leave, they whoever's going to shoot the first shot goes out. And I also did see Nathan McKinnon left the building before the game was over, and it was still close. And
How do you know that?
Because he walked right past me and just left the building. I watched him. If you watch the vlog, you're going to see Nathan McKinnon just leave before it's even over. I was like, Nate the Great, this is a crazy game right now. What are you doing?
Grr, I got to get home. Grr, I have to not eat candy. Grr.
My car is waiting for me. How am I going to sit in this traffic? Listen, we all love Nathan McKinnon. We're of course just
we love Nate the Great, but he's grr. I thought he lived downtown.
I'm pretty sure he did. Well, I thought actually he sold his $2 million condo downtown. But anyways,
I don't know.
Somebody says thanks for eating the popcorn, Rachel. You're very welcome. I did in fact give myself a stomach ache from pounding the popcorn, which happens when I nervous eat. And then I found popcorn after the game with D-Mac.
All right, so I got to describe this to you. I mean, not only did Rachel plow through an enormous bucket totally on her own.
Yeah.
And by the way, Rachel was choosing not to sit next to me. But that's okay. That's all right.
I will gladly come down, but I'm not going to lie, D-Mac. Nowadays, you're in your writing zone. So sometimes you're not very talkative.
That's true. You're right about that.
They have an absolute panic attack up in the press box for every game.
All right, so Rachel goes through this huge bucket, and then all the press conferences. And do you notice things are happening a little bit quicker with the press conferences? They're kind of, there's a little more pressure to keep things going. So everything's a little quicker. Jokic is a little quicker. Everything's a little quicker, which is good. So we're going down the floor. We shoot a little video, which is fun. You got your vlog. I'm doing my post-game reaction. I love it. I absolutely love it that you're there.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, we're going to center court to shoot our little video. And I see Rachel stop and pick something up under a seat. And it's a bag of popcorn she picked up under a seat.
So this is what I learned yesterday, okay? For all of the courtside seats behind them, there's a little shelf on the back of the seat, and that's where they put all the Club Lexus popcorn. So you can tell the popcorn that hasn't been opened. I did not get an open bag of popcorn.
So wait, they put the popcorn there before the game starts?
Yes, and I just learned about this. And why
wow.
I haven't been stealing popcorn all season long with me, because they just, they bring out popcorn left and right for people. I'm mind blown by this. I was, but yeah, it's all behind the seats. If you're sitting courtside, there's like little white bags that you see. Yep.
So that's the benefit of being wicked rich.
That's the benefit.
They bring you the free popcorn. They bring you the free popcorn, and you can spill your beer all over LeBron James.
There you go.
And have a towel to help them out.
Yep, pretty much. And you may get booed because you're stopping play, but you still get a spill beer by LeBron James. So we actually did watch LeBron.
I watched that again. Whoever that was in the front row, that was not their fault. They're sitting there. They got their beer, which they're allowed to have, and LeBron just falls right into them. Yep. And the beer just kind of on his head, and he's got to mop it up and the whole thing. But that was nobody's fault. That was sitting right there.
Nope. It happens. But let's bring in Jake Shapiro because he was having a panic attack in the first half. I always come in a little bit late. Jake, good morning. How are you?
Never in doubt, Rachel. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I come up. I'm always late because I try and get everybody that's down below essentially, and try and get all the pregame action for the vlog. And I'm coming up and I sit down and Jake's like, thank goodness you're here, because within the 30 seconds that I'm sitting there, things just automatically got better. And he was like, you're not allowed to leave this seat. And then of course things did in fact get worse before they got much better. But hey, we made it, Jake.
We did. It's a great morning. Top 5 morning of my life. This is amazing. Right now,
top 5 morning of my life.
6 games away. The Denver Nuggets are really here, up 2-0 on the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Final. A little Murray, a little Porter, a little Brown, bang, bang, bang. That was amazing. Maybe the loudest I've ever heard Ball Arena. It's neck and neck with the Aaron Gordon dunk. The natural Heat LA chants, holy crap, we are here. Before the game, I didn't even tell you guys this. I was getting interviewed by ABC. People are funny. And the best part is, and we're going to talk about the national media here after we talk about the game a little bit, all the sad faces from all the people from ESPN that realize they're going to be back here in 2 weeks for the NBA
finals. ESPN's doing the finals?
Yeah.
I was really hoping it was TNT.
It's ESPN and ABC.
Oh.
It's funny. In my mentions, man, people doubt this Nuggets team. It's wild. Okay, they were down by 11. That wasn't groovy, but it never got crazy. The separations were relatively close the whole game. And then they went up by 12 with 5 minutes to go on a crazy, it was 8 or 9 or 10-0, some sort of run like that.
10-0 run and then a 20-5 run.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and then I'm waking up to hear people oh my God, the Nuggets can't do this, the Nuggets can't do that. They certainly can't do it again. I'm like, no, this was the 4th time Jamal Murray has had 20-plus points in the 4th quarter of a playoff game.
Yeah.
He actually has done this multiple times. And he has had, like I said on the radio in here, he has had many bad starts only to have great 4th quarters. And there's no secret to this. It's about confidence and rhythm. And Michael Malone pointed out last night, once he gets a bucket, once he finds the rhythm, even if he's been off all night, the basket becomes a hula hoop. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. And as LeBron James pointed out, all but one of his shots were contested. Those were tough shots to make. Aside from just hitting him and fouling him, there wasn't much else. I mean, this is Anthony Davis, LeBron James. These are big guys with a hand up in front of Jamal, and he's still making the shots. But that is not unusual. That is who he is. That's why he's a max contract guy. That's why he's playoff Murray, not bubble Murray.
Yeah. It's interesting because the first 3 he hit in the 4th quarter, his 3rd 3 of the game, he was 2 for 9 from deep at that point. So Dennis Schroeder changed his coverage and started going under on the screen. So he goes under on an Aaron Gordon screen, which the smart move for Jamal Murray is to shoot in that situation. The only thing is no one's wanting him to shoot because they had been struggling so much. Wide open 3. And from that point forward, he's seeing the basket as a hula hoop, as Michael Malone described. What's fascinating is the next 3, he yells out bang at Mike Breen, the broadcaster. Like, he was just into it. He was in his bag. It was Murray, playoff Murray, that extra level. I don't know that anyone's actually realized this, but Jamal Murray had more points in the fourth quarter last night than every Laker, okay, and every Nugget in the entire game. No one. Nikola Jokic had 23 points last night. Jamal Murray had 23 points in the fourth quarter. No one outscored Jamal Murray in the entire game from what Jamal had in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And can I point out something too? His last 7 points were all free throws. He did miss one, so he could have actually had 24. Mm-hmm. But he was, as I'm looking it up, 9 of 10 from the line for the night and 7 out of 8 when it mattered most. I don't think nobody's even really talked about how clutch all those free throws were too. And he was exhausted. He played the entire second half. LeBron James talked about being exhausted. LeBron James was tired, and he's got 2 bad feet and one in particular. He cannot make a jump shot to save his life, but he is strong going to the basket, except for the 3 times that he missed bunnies, including a dunk, which, listen, I know that was in the second quarter, but that was actually kind of a sneaky big moment. That would have put them up by 10 points and really provided momentum for him. It lifted the crowd. It sort of, kind of, all right, Nuggets, it's not that bad. We're okay. And it just felt like, oh, my gosh. So I know it was early or midway through the second quarter, but I actually think that was kind of a big moment in the game.
A senior moment, right, Jake?
A senior moment. I actually talked to LeBron about this after the game, and you can read about it on denversports.com. LeBron James essentially said that was horrible, an unforced turnover, and it can't happen on the road. He pointed to that as one of the big turning points of the game, to D-Mac's point, even though it was in the second quarter and it was too early on to matter. And the other one was the Nuggets had a good defensive possession but couldn't get a rebound, and the Lakers had an opportunity to end the third quarter with the ball with a shot. They could have gone up 7 or 8. But they take the shot with some time remaining, a little bit early.
Schroeder, 10 seconds by Schroeder,
Yeah, it was an open shot. It wasn't a bad shot, but just not the time and place for it, okay? They miss it. Nuggets come back down the other way. KCP ends up missing a shot, but Jokic tips it back in off of goaltend from Anthony Davis. So instead of an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter or a 7-point lead going into the fourth quarter, it's 3. And LeBron basically said those 2 things, his mistake on the dunk and that not running out the clock all the way in the third quarter, were the 2 turning points in the game that just cannot happen on the road in the playoffs.
But there was even one more. One of the few mistakes Jamal Murray made in the fourth quarter was an ill-advised pass to Nikola Jokic that LeBron actually stole. He drives baseline, and I mean that is not a hard shot. A baseline reverse layup for the vast majority of NBA players is a bunny, and he overcooked that one. And that would have cut it to, I think, a 3-point game instead of 5. And when they needed a miracle, Bruce Brown stole the ball from LeBron James. So you got listen, the guy's in great shape, and he's an all-time player, no doubt. But he was exhausted, and he was making mistakes he wouldn't normally make. And I know why. Because they have him playing the 5 against Nikola Jokic. They are so desperate right now. And he is a good defender, although on the TV broadcast they pointed out on one particular play, he gave that shiv to Jokic. Should have been a foul. Jokic missed a shot. But as was noted, well, that is good strategy because he's more likely to get away with fouls like that because referees don't want to call it on him. It is a good strategy to put him on Jokic, but that is going to take its toll, guys.
So you mentioned the mistakes real quick, just the brand name of the Lakers. The last 2 times these 2 teams have matched up in the Western Conference Finals, the Nuggets lost because they couldn't inbound the ball. And the Nuggets lost because Anthony Davis was wide open for a game winner on a point switch. Last night, the Nuggets late in the game couldn't inbound the ball, threw the ball away. That Jamal Murray turnover, as you're referencing, didn't cost them. Anthony Davis gets wide open for a corner 3 late in the game because of a point switch. Doesn't go in. I'm telling you, destiny is on the Nuggets side this year. It's just different. Like these things that have gone against the Nuggets for decades are not going against the Nuggets. It's absolutely unfathomable as someone who's watched this team for so long.
Jake, too, I was in there for LeBron's press conference last night, and we were also in there for game 1. There was a major difference in the attitude of LeBron after game 2. It seemed like game 1, he was like, you know what? We're just sweeping this one underneath the rug. It is what it is. We'll be back, right? That was his quote. Last night seemed like it was just pure defeat of we gave them the best we could and we still couldn't walk away with a win. And it just felt different. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and it's funny because game 1, they actually played a better game. Game 2, they had a better lead at, one point in the game. The Lakers definitely should have been able to come away with one of these 2 games at Ball Arena. They had their chances. If they were a great team, they would have come away with one of these 2 games. But like I've said over and over, the Lakers aren't a great team. They're borderline good. They're not that fantastic. They haven't proven that much this year. They're not that deep. LeBron isn't the player he was. Nikola Jokic is far and away the best player in the series. Anthony Davis has been an absolute dud. But you look at the attitude, as you mentioned, Rachel. It was, ha, ha, ha. We found something to stop Nikola Jokic. We're going to come back in game 2, and we're going to run these guys out of their own gym to, oh, we're running into the best team in the league and we just blew our opportunity. And now we gotta go in a dogfight, and we have to win game 3 and we have to win game 4. If the Lakers lose game 3, guess what? It's curtains. No team in NBA history has ever come back from game 3. If the Lakers lose if the Lakers win game 3 and then lose game 4, there are very few teams, like a handful of teams in NBA history, who've even come back from down 3-1. So the Lakers need to win both of these games this weekend. And there's not much in the data that suggests that they can win both.
I think they're going to get Saturday night. I do. Tomorrow night. I think they're going to get one, and I think it's going to be tomorrow night. But after that, I think it's going to be very similar to how the Nuggets were against Golden State last year. It's like, at least we didn't get swept. And when the Nuggets got that win, it was clear that that was going to be it. They just didn't have the juice because it took so much to do it. The Nuggets are more or less going to be the versions that we've seen in these first 2 games. They're going to score a lot of points or play tough when it matters or whatever. Even Michael Porter Jr. was, in early foul territory, trouble, which was a problem. And then we saw the breaking of the Crayola Box crew. Then we saw Reggie Jackson inserted for a whopping 2 minutes and 56 seconds. That's all he got. What did Reggie do here?
He was a +1. He was a +1.
He was a +1. That's his only number. 0 field goal attempts, 0 3-pointers, 0 free throws, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 personal fouls, but he was +1. It's one of the funnier stat lines you'd ever see in your life. I mean, 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 0. So
that was that was the old when you were in high school. Someone would just get into the game and get a foul just so they could be in the paper and have a number next to their name.
Yeah. So he wasn't a negative. He wasn't DeAngelo Russell. And you want to talk about a fun storyline. This would be a great off-day story, Jake, for you to break down the Bruce Brown, DeAngelo Russell feud that is currently going on. And Bruce Brown is talking shizzle to everybody.
Everyone. And I am so here for it. I agree with D-Mac, Jake. That's a great piece to write because I love the fire that Bruce Brown has right now.
Yeah, the funniest part about it is one of the loudest moments at Nuggets games right now is when the PA announcer comes on, Kyle Speller, and after 3, yeehaw, Cowboy Bruce! It is just awesome. And it's so funny. I was talking to our boss, Raj, the other night. I'm like, do you know where Bruce Brown is from? He's like, no. I'm like, he's from Boston. I'm like, he's from Boston. Him, D-Mac, and Jacob Toby got this thing going on with this Boston thing, but he acts like a cowboy, and that's his authentic self. I love it. He is it's funny because we've talked about it before. He's likely not going to be back just because it's really hard to bring him back contractually based off the CBA, whatever. Dude is making a case for being the Nazem Kadri of the
Nuggets. Oh, yeah.
if we're gonna build a statue for cult heroes of these potential championship runs back to
Bruce
back,
Brown.
I want Bruce Brown in a cowboy hat and Nazem Kadri with a sign right next to each other outside of Ball Arena.
Can we say
I
he's
want
the third
Bruce
best player on
Brown.
the team?
I want Bruce Brown at the parade on a horse. We got to have Bruce Brown on a horse at the parade.
Yeah, and Nikola Jokic should be behind the horse on a trotter.
My gosh, that would be incredible.
Oh my God, guys, that is absolutely hysterical.
That would be so good.
Nikola Jokic should be on a trotter, and Bruce Brown, I don't know if he can be on that horse. They have gear for the trotter. But if Jokic was on a trotter and Bruce Brown was on a horse leading the parade, or maybe one in the front, one in the back, I don't know, something like that. That is a freaking amazing idea. All right, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. We
are. Edward, though, says, Jake, maybe the Nuggets will sweep the Lakers. You're obviously not high. You've said it multiple times on the Lakers aren't a very good team. But yesterday, I feel like in the press conferences, we heard quite a few rumblings and just questions, too, about this team hasn't had to go into a hostile environment in the Western Conference Finals. How much do you both actually believe that will play into it, knowing they're going to LA? And, of course, that is a hostile environment no matter when you go.
I just think they're going to get the whistles. I mean, they kind of got the whistles last night. It caught up eventually because it was a bunch of Jamal free throws at the end. But I think they get game 3. And you know what, guys? It would not shock me if they actually get games 3 and 4. But even if they got games 3 and 4, I think we're just going to see a repeat of what happened with Phoenix. I think you'd see a blowout at home in game 5. And I think the Nuggets would relatively easily handle business. The Lakers are a very old, young team. I mean, LeBron's just old, period, okay? And he's out of gas. He doesn't have his legs. He can't make a jump shot. Everything he's doing is just out of guts, will, and determination on the inside. He essentially right now, guys, is a center. He is a poor shooting outside, undersized center. That's who LeBron James is. Isn't that wild that that's exactly what he is right now?
No, it actually is. Jake?
He looks a lot like Paul Millsap did for points of his career.
There you go.
That's a great comparison.
He's a very productive player. Like, Paul Millsap was an all-star. Like, this isn't a knock, and this is year 20 LeBron. Like, he's still, like, honestly, what D-Mac's talking about, it's impressive that he is doing this on one leg, pure guts determination at age 38. Like, I am blown away at what LeBron has done defensively in this series, and yet I want him shooting the ball every time. Anytime LeBron or Anthony Davis is shooting from past 12 feet, 14 feet, that's a win for the Nuggets defense. So, on the sweep point, yeah, I could totally see the Nuggets sweeping. In fact, I think it's more probable that the Nuggets sweep than it comes back here 2-2. I don't know that it's going to sweep. And D-Mac said, the whistle evened out. You know what? The whistle set the tone for the game last night. And just because the Lakers were fouling on purpose doesn't mean the whistle evened out. You had 4 Nuggets in foul trouble very early on in that game, which is the reason why Reggie Jackson was in. And it was also the reason why Nikola Jokic played most of the fourth quarter, a different adjustment. The Nuggets had to take them. The Nuggets were taken out of their rhythm by the officials because of their rotations were different than they've been in any playoff game. Malone didn't have the ability to play matchups or do what he wanted to do, which is a reason why the Nuggets played their worst first half of the playoffs. So the whistle totally affected the Nuggets. Now, do I think there's going to be another whistle game in this series? Absolutely. And it's probably coming in LA. Can that whistle game come at the same time that Anthony Davis is cooking? Maybe. And that's game 3 for you. So I'm kind of still on, like, I'm kind of hedging where I'm like, the Nuggets should win this series in 4 based off talent, based off matchup, based off where they are. But in reality, with the world of the NBA officials that we live in and we saw last night, it's probably going to take 5 games.
Go ahead, D-Mac.
Well, I was just going to say there's an interesting number out there in conference finals. Teams that are down 2-0 are 6-26, as a record. However, 2 of those 6 are actually LeBron James teams. So it's not like he hasn't been here before. And I guess if I was a Lakers fan, I'd be leaning into that particular number. I mean, you got to lean into something at this point. So
he talked about that last night, D-Mac. He talked about that last night. He said, this isn't the NCAA tournament. You're not done till there's 4 on the board.
Yeah. So But it's not looking good for them. That's for sure. The thought of beating this Nuggets team 4 out of 5 games, I mean, that seems ludicrous.
Yeah.
So there's so much more. That was an exhausting game. That was a real battle, a hard-fought game, no doubt. But it's the Nuggets, not the Lakers, who are going to bounce back. DeAngelo Russell was minus 16, okay? He is minus 41 in 2 games. He is a defensive nightmare. Bruce Brown owns D'Lo. He owns him on the court, and he owns him in the head. He forced DeAngelo Russell to spend like an hour in uniform like a little kid putting up jump shots. Well, I mean, now what? And the verbal jousting between the two is hysterical. Brown saying, he tries to play defense is awesome. And Brown's not afraid of anybody. He's lipping off to the bench, to DeAngelo Russell. We love Cowboy Bruce Brown. I mean, we love this guy.
Jake, there's no past history with these two, right? Because it does seem like it's a little bit of an extra oomph. And am I unaware of, some past information?
How much do you know about DeAngelo Russell's rookie and sophomore years in LA?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to try and parse through the stuff here. But do you guys remember Swaggy P, Nick Young, who ended up being a Nugget for a brief period of time?
Yep.
He was married to Iggy Azalea, right?
Okay.
Okay. DeAngelo Russell was a top pick out of Ohio State of the Los Angeles Lakers all those years ago. And essentially, he posted on social media and where he caught Nick Young, Swaggy P, cheating on Iggy Azalea. He outed his teammate cheating on his wife, who is a celebrity.
Wait.
Bro code violation.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So,
very early on. Bro code violation, D-Mac?
That is a bro code violation.
How about we just do the right thing here, folks? Okay, continue on.
Well, whatever.
So all of it was icky, both from a loyalty to your partner and loyalty to your teammate standpoint. And he got in people's business and his teammates didn't like him or trust him much. So that basically ended D'Lo's early development. And he was quickly thereafter shipped off to Brooklyn, where he became an all-star. So D'Lo around the league has some frayed relationships in general because of that situation. I don't know if there's anything in specific with Bruce Brown in the past, but I can tell you that Bruce went to Brooklyn right after D'Lo left. D'Lo left to sign a deal with the Warriors in a sign and trade that got Kevin Durant to the Nets, and Bruce Brown was more or less the replacement for D'Lo because there was a backup point guard. So these two have a little bit of history. It's not like clash in your face, but D'Lo's one of the most drama-fueled players in the league, and there's a lot to work with that you could go and look up yourself.
Good stuff, Jake. Good stuff.
I was gonna say, it felt like there was a little something else, and look at you. Job well done, Jake Shapiro. I love this comment, though.
You gotta write that up, Jake. That's great.
So that's fantastic stuff. But it says, I don't see any chat from the Laker fans today. Maybe they realize the mountain is going to be tough to climb. I love that chat right there. Wow, that's interesting though. There's always a little bit of tidbit drama. How many minutes did LeBron play last night? I know you both have the paperwork in front of you.
Got it right here. 40 minutes and 8 seconds.
Jokic?
Jokic played 41 minutes and 57 seconds. And by the way, we should point out there was something very unusual that happened. The Lakers did have a bad possession. They got a rebound, and Schroeder put up a three-pointer with 10 seconds on the clock. That was a mistake. He did have an open look, and he's a good three-point shooter, so okay, fine. But that's not usually how you would handle that situation. You would at least handle the ball for a little bit and try to get a shot off with like 4 or 3 seconds to go. Mm-hmm. In general, that's how you handle last possessions because you don't want what happens. Yeah. Instead, he misses the shot, and the Nuggets got that transition that led to a goaltending charge on AD. But here's what was super tricky about that. That is a stop the clock violation. So not only did they have to say, well, was it goaltending, which was relatively quick, they had to go back and check the clock for how much time was left. And then there was kind of like, is it out on the side or is it out on the baseline? The point that I bring this up is that was a long stoppage. And all of a sudden, and then you had, of course, it amounted to nothing. And then you had the break between the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So all of that added up to a really weird, like 8-minute, like we're doing nothing. So Jokic actually got the time on the bench as a break as he normally would get when he just sits out the first 3 or 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. So Malone made a decision based off of that to keep Jokic in the game. I'm telling you guys, I don't know if I've seen Jokic start in the fourth quarter the entire year.
Only happened a couple times, and it was games in which Jokic was in early foul trouble, so he made up those minutes in the fourth quarter. So not in a game that the Nuggets were unforced to do so did Jokic do that. And to your point, D-Mac, it wasn't Malone that made the decision entirely. He looked at Jokic, and Jokic said, I'm good to go.
Another note, at one point in the game, Malone did get himself in a sticky wicket. He had Jokic and Murray off at the same time. And I don't know about you guys, but I noticed it right away because that team looked weird, because it's like AG on the pick and roll at the top of the key with Michael Porter Jr. and Bruce Brown. And it was like, yikes, what the hell is this? And Malone actually admitted that was a mistake. He actually did admit that. He said, I can't do that. I've got to stagger, usually it's Murray, but I gotta do a better job with that. So it's not like the Nuggets didn't make some mistakes or do some weird things. Now, when Jokic did start the fourth quarter with about 9.5 minutes left, he did go out. So he only played like 2.5 minutes, and then he took like a 2-minute break. But the Nuggets increased their lead. They were down by 1 when he went out, and I think they were up by 2 when he came back in, something like that.
They went on a 20-5 run that started when Jokic started the fourth quarter. And it ended after Jokic had already checked back in. But do you guys? I mean, I don't know if you guys have read the box score. This is the entire fourth quarter for the Nuggets. It's fascinating. MPJ 3, Murray 2, Murray 3, Murray 3, Brown 3, Murray 3, MPJ 3, Murray 3, Murray 2, Murray free throw, 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 Murray free throw. Jokic didn't score in the fourth quarter.
And that's like unheard of, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, he was fantastic last night.
But guys, this is exactly what we talked about before the game.
Yeah.
In order to stop Jokic, it was going to give other guys open shots. We talked about that. We were just like, well, who are those guys going to be? We're not sure. But in order to stop Jokic, that's why when I see an ESPN SportsCenter host, Kevin Connors, and Kevin, you sound like you got a great Irish name. Don't besmirch our heritage, Kevin. But he comes out on TV afterwards with Jalen Rose and he goes, well, I don't think Jokic had that great of a game. And then he details his line. I'm like, hey, Kevin, no, that was a spectacular game. And because it's not just the line, it's the intangibles of everything else. You forced LeBron James to play Jokic down low, not be on the outside. The whole situation set up a situation where there were open shots all over the place. I feel bad for Aaron Gordon. He can't hit a shot to save his life, but he had an open shot. Jeff Green had an open shot. Michael Porter Jr. is a budding superstar. I'm sticking with it. And these guys just make big shot after big shot. Guys, that was because of Jokic. Sorry. I went crazy. Sorry.
You look like Jokic just flopped there, D-Mac.
I'm losing my head.
That was so good. And you know what? If that wants to be a quote-unquote Jokic bad game, we can just pull up his stats from the rest of it because that can be his bad game. Are you guys kidding me with these? The last 10 playoff games, look at the numbers that he has here. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and the 23 points. The 23-point wait, listen, all right, Jokic was under 50% shooting. He was 9 of 21. So barely under 50%. So if you want to count that as a bad night, I just think it's ridiculous because his impact is so severe all over the place. And guys, are we really going to sleep on 17 rebounds? Really? Seriously? So 17 rebounds, no big deal? Give me a break.
It's ridiculous. That's why I'm like, you know what? If you want to call that a bad game for Jokic, do it. he's fantastic regardless at the end.
Well,
of the
I mean, for the people, but like, here's the thing. Jokic did have a bad game because it's only the second game people watched of Nikola Jokic. And compared to the first one, it was worse. So it was a bad game.
Let's talk about the national media. I wake up this morning. I'm like all excited to turn on the TV. I'm like, are they going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets? I turn on Shannon Sharp talking about the Lakers. I'm like, okay, I'll switch over to First Take. Talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm like, okay. So I switch back. And they do, Shannon and Skip Bayless do end up talking about Jamal Murray and the Nuggets for a little bit. And so it was just sandwiched in between two different Lakers discussions. I'm okay. I told this to DMAC last night. Don't talk about the Nuggets. Don't do it. You don't have to do it. You know, MPJ said small market team, whatever. Don't talk about it. But make sure the Nuggets force them to talk about it by winning a championship. And that's all that matters at the end of the day.
It got so bad on ESPN this morning. One of the commentators actually said, hey, guys, this is on ESPN. If the Nuggets win the third game in a row, can we lead the show with how the Nuggets won, not how the Lakers lost? I mean, that's the commentator on ESPN talking about how ESPN is presenting things on ESPN.
It's disgraceful, but like just from a producer standpoint, Jake, I'm sure you can agree with this. Like, it's really bad that they aren't talking about them at all. But as a fan of somebody for this team, I'm like, you know what? Don't talk about this team. I actually don't want you to. If you're not going to pay them or give them any credit during the regular season, early on in the playoffs, I don't want you to give them credit until they win the ship.
If the Nuggets win tomorrow night, this is what's going to be on national sports talk shows on Monday morning. I'm just telling you, as the producer of this show for a while, I know how to do this. So is this LeBron's final chance at a title? Was that LeBron's final chance? Do they need to trade Anthony Davis to give LeBron a better player to be around him this offseason? Can you bring DeAngelo Russell back? Does Kyrie end up on the Lakers this summer? Oh, and Nikola Jokic is pretty good. Yeah, that's going to be 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. It's going to be the Lakers offseason plans. It's not going to be Nuggets.
And it's also going to be Western Conference in turmoil. Ja Morant, Sacramento up and coming. The Golden State Warriors fisticuffs, aging LeBron. Wait and see. It's going to be all about how, well, yeah, the Nuggets won, but I mean, the West Conference wasn't very good. Wait till they have to play the
historically weak NBA that the Nuggets are reigning over. The Lakers will be fine come next year when the NBA is stronger.
You know what, though? Actually, D-Mac, you just made a really good point there. That's fine. I'm glad that this Nuggets team doesn't have any drama. I'm glad that they have great chemistry and they're not worried about their GM or their star player doing stupid things. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them not being in it because they're a solid team. You got to give credit to Michael Malone. There's a lot of superstars on this team, and he's kept them all very level-headed, and they're not getting too big. It's all about the team and the one goal. It's not being where they are right now.
I got bad news for the NBA. AG, Jokic, MPJ, Jamal Murray are all under 29 years of age and are all signed up for next year. And the 30-year-old KCP, 30, is good to go for next year too. Guys, what do you think is really going on here, barring some sort of catastrophic injury? Had Jamal not torn his ACL, we probably already would have an NBA chip under our belts right now. I mean, we see now Jokic is the MVP, and fourth quarter Murray is absurd. And the fact, it's a weird thing, like he isn't an all-star. Give me a break. Jamal Murray is one of the top 8 players in the NBA right now.
No. He is definitely not. No.
Did you say Jamal Murray?
Yeah, Jamal Murray is not a top. He's maybe in the top 50.
All right. Hold on. Time out. Give me 7 better. Seven better clutch players in the fourth quarter than Jamal Murray right now.
Different conversation, but Jimmy Butler.
Right, then let me talk about a conversation that matters. Because now we're getting hung up on semantics. Okay,
I agree.
I'm talking about clutch. What I care about are clutch players in the fourth quarter. I don't care if Nolan Arenado gets his 1,000th RBI on an infield hit for the Cardinals, or
Okay,
he hits
but-
or Troy
Mac, if you
Tulowitzki
replace
hits
Jamal
a home
Murray-
run down
If you
9
replace
runs.
Jamal Murray with Luka Doncic on the Nuggets wouldn't be in the clutch time because they'd be winning by 100 every game. Like that's part of it. Like so, but here,
Gotcha
let's
there.
move past this.
Before the phone ends up on the ground again.
The
Yes.
NBA, I'm convinced nobody is watching. Like most of the media isn't actually watching the games, and we've been proven this to be true by yesterday's comments by Lisa Salters and also Mark Jackson's in the past. Like, we know that people aren't watching. They listen to the Bill Simmons podcast with Ryan Russillo for 5 minutes, and they go and talk at their coffee shop with someone about Bill Simmons' podcast. Like, they watch the game, and that's how the narrative grows. But for a league completely based on narratives, we've had one narrative for about 10 years. I think 10 years now. It started in 2013. Is LeBron James passing the torch to Kevin Durant as the league's next great player in Oklahoma City? Is LeBron James passing the torch to Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio as the next great player in this finals matchup? Is LeBron James passing the torch to Steph Curry? We're here in 2023, and what this series is LeBron James passing the torch as one of the 5 greatest players in NBA history to the next great of the NBA. It's Nikola Jokic. And we're all mixed up in the hubbub of this series, and Jokic is quiet, and we get it. But Shaquille O'Neal, who gives flowers to nobody, is like the only dude who can be Shaq and Superman like Shaq is Nikola Jokic. That dude is Superman. So we are here, and it's happening so quietly after it was so loud for so many years. Who's LeBron passing the torch to? Right now, it's passing the torch to Nikola Jokic. We have that guy. The league needs to get caught up to what's happening here in Denver.
It seems like it's an ESPN problem because TNT
Correct.
and TNT's broadcast, you guys, is just so darn good. And they don't have an agenda or any means. It's just a bunch of guys who show up and talk. And I think that's what makes it so fun. Like, ESPN's broadcast just isn't, they're getting dethroned, in my personal opinion.
Well, there's a reason for that, too, because TNT only does games and post games. You know, ESPN has, they don't stop. They go around the clock. And listen, I heard Mike Evans, our guy, talk about it this morning, saying if I'm programming ESPN, I'd be doing the same exact thing because it's just a bigger fan base. It's more population. And,
Sure.
you know, everything's based on ratings, revenue. Okay. I actually am all right with that. What I found mysterious, seriously, was Lisa Salter's comments, because you could focus on the Knicks or the Nets or the Lakers or whatever and still have a basic comprehension of who everybody is who's significant in the league. That to me was the comment that, well, I just didn't find confounding. Michael Malone, what a rant he had post game, because it just goes to this ridiculous thing of respect. Yeah. I loved it too. He goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the narrative. And I go, well, do you think this will change the narrative? And he goes, I don't care. Well, coach, come on now. I mean, you just talked for like 3 straight minutes about the narrative like you did care, but now you don't care? Mm-hmm. Clearly he cares. Clearly it's something, and clearly it's something they're trying to use. The players have a much more balance. I think, you know, Jamal's just kind of sly and kind of a wise guy, so he slid that in there. But I asked Jokic, do you care if anybody knows anything about you? Or what should somebody know about you? He goes, no. I go, the same question essentially to Michael Porter Jr. He goes, nah, I don't care. Like, it actually doesn't matter to these guys. I think it does actually matter a little bit more to Jamal. I mean, for Jamal to look over at Mike Breen, the play-by-play guy, and go, bang, I mean, that's got to be in the back of your head somewhere how you're being sort of considered and looked at. So I think Malone and Murray are kind of on the same page as this. And I think a lot of the other guys seriously don't even care.
On Malone, I'm pretty sure he has a Twitter account that's like Nuggets fan season, and then in parentheses 10-3 with the record. Like, he's one of those guys on Twitter. Like, he has a burner that's updating the Nuggets record every day, talking about how great Malone is. Like, dude sees everything and he cares. I don't actually know how he sees everything. Like, he must be following more Nuggets accounts than me, because he sees more than me. He sees everything. It's absolutely incredible. He knows exactly who everyone is and what they said. I'm like, I walked into one of these press conferences before one of these series, and he's like, thanks for picking us, to one of the national guys that works for ESPN. I'm like, how did he know that? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even see that. Yeah. So that was amazing. On the second point with Jamal Murray, and I wrote the story for denversports.com. Rachel and I were sitting yesterday, sidelines on the court before the game. And I'm not sure, Rachel, if you read my story yet, but we caught the moment Jamal Murray is trying to shoot the ball over the backboard.
Yep.
And he does it every single game to end his pregame warmup. He missed what, like 10 in a row, 12 in a row?
12.
Yeah. And every time, you noticed what I did. Chris Marlowe was right there, and he's going, 3, 2, 1, Murray at the buzzer.
Yep.
Oh, let's try it again. 3, 2, 1, Murray. Oh, let's try it again. Finally,
Yep.
Jamal Murray for the game. Boom, at the buzzer. And then he hugged Chris Marlowe, who's been a ride or die with the Nuggets for a long time, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But Murray talked about after the game, he's like, I'm just like every other kid. I grew up in my driveway going, Murray with the ball, 3, 2, 1, boom, Jamal wins it. So I wrote this story because it's like so pure and so full of love of basketball that this dude's like, I know when I hit a big shot, I'm going to get that moment from the announcer that is the signature call. That is that. Like, I know Jamal has probably listened back to his Chris Marlowe call of the Portland game winner this year and been like, that's awesome. Like, Jamal loves basketball, loves what's around it. So it's really cool for him to get that moment. So I don't know that Jamal is as bothered by the comments as Michael Malone is, D-Mac. I don't think he's as, following it as Michael Malone is. I think he just has this like deep appreciation for how he's going to be, remembered, what his legacy will be. And those are legacy defining moments. Like the gif of Michael Jordan going like this, all-time gif, like all-time, sports moment. Jamal Murray going bang, like that's going to be a big time sports gif for forever. And Jamal Murray, because of the bubble, because of this playoff run now, which is the only 2 times he's been healthy in the playoffs, really, with, Nikola Jokic at this level, he's going to go down as an all-time clutch player. And people will talk about him like they talk about Allen Iverson, like they talk about Kobe Bryant. Now it's about how can he fill in the gaps from the first 3 quarters and actually become that all-star, that all-NBA player, because clearly the talent is there and clearly people know his name now.
True. Jake, I know you got a bachelorette party going on at your house, and I told you I was only going to keep you for 45. I'm going to keep you for the full hour because I want you to be a part of our Ask Us Anything Friday, because I know people are going to have questions for you. So if you have any questions.
Wait. I have other questions. In the middle of a bachelorette party.
You can get to it on Ask Us Anything Friday here, D-Mac. Put it in the comments, okay?
What time is it?
Hey, and because it's next on the sideboard, my lovely fiance, Katie Cheshire, also a journalist, works for Westward, wrote a really good story about Bucky the Bronco and Bucky's history in Denver and if he would be part of the Broncos stadium future. So there you go. Go read Katie's story.
I love it. Okay, ask us anything for sure in the comments for any of us. Hold on 1 second. Let me get to Bucky because, yes, Bucky is back. There he is. They're putting him on this giant new scoreboard, big screen. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. It's going to be massive. We see all the, construction as we're all headed down to Ball Arena, but it is huge. The new video board will be 72 feet tall by 225 feet wide and 31 feet taller than it currently stands. That is crazy. But D-Mac, get to your question. Go for it.
Just real quick on the scoreboard. Again, note how the scoreboard lines up with the upper decks. And I do think architecturally, it does give possibilities that you could sort of enclose the stadium somehow. And I don't know exactly how that would be. But Rachel, you and I were there last fall when we were told there were at least plans. It's not set in stone, but they've at least worked on plans to say, well, what if? So I don't think it's a coincidence that they raised the scoreboard to actually that level. I think it's cool that they did it, but I think it's got to do with other possible things in the future. So I don't think it's a coincidence. My question on Ask Us Anything Friday, Jake, you said there's a bachelorette party. At what time do you change into your policeman costume?
I am not invited. I am
Jake's
not
getting kicked out of his house.
Or wait, are you a plumber or some other? Are you a fire? I mean, what is the costume that you will put on, crawl out a window, and then knock on the front door?
Look at how red Jake's kidding. Oh,
I'm couch surfing in LA this weekend with my buddies, man. Like I'm out in LA. I'm getting kicked out of my house this afternoon.
Okay, so nothing's coming off.
You know, the only thing coming
here.
The only thing
by the way, how awful would it be? How awful would it be for Jake's fiance if he was the entertainment for all of her girlfriends?
She would love that. She would love that, for the record. I think some of the friends would too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, changing before
your opinion of yourself amongst your girlfriend or fiance's eyes is ridiculous. She would not love it. Jake, get over yourself just a pinch.
Okay, moving on. What is going on with Christian Braun, Clint says? Jake?
He's a rookie. It caught up with him. It finally caught up with him. Last night, he was completely unplayable. And honestly, a huge shout out to Michael Malone for realizing it so quickly and pulling him not only after his first stint, but quicker than he normally would from his first stint. I have no concerns about Christian Braun long-term future, whatever. The reality is he's struggling with his shot. He's not a complete player offensively. He provides you some nice offensive rebounding and finishing, but the Lakers' strategy is basically to find the guy who's the non-shooter on the Nuggets and just double Jokic with him. And because the Lakers are doing that, it makes Christian Braun unplayable right now.
I think Christian Braun needs a little mental health break. I think he needs a game off. I really do. And I think you could, frankly, virtually play anybody and you're going to get a better result than Christian Braun right now. I'm not saying bench him forever, but he needs a reset. Jamal Murray, how impressive is this? Jamal Murray's having a bad game, and he talked about meditation. So Jamal Murray, during the game, guys, was able to meditate somehow, maybe at halftime or maybe on the bench somewhere, and actually reset himself during the game. Well, you can only do that when you are an unbelievable elite player that's been through that. When you're a young guy like Christian Braun, you cannot reset yourself that quickly, and the games are too important. He can't make a shot to save his life, and he's out there like a chicken with his head cut off, like the ball in his hands like a hot potato. Seriously, they really should throw out Peyton Watson or, I don't know, maybe Reggie Jackson a little bit more, or Zeke or Vlatko or somebody. I mean, it's just not working out well offensively or defensively for Christian right now. So he needs a reset, and they got to figure that out.
Okay, so this kind of follows up. Should Peyton Watson get 4 minutes tomorrow to lock up the win?
You got to do something about Christian Braun, but I don't know if it's necessarily Peyton Watson, Jake.
Probably not Peyton Watson. You look at the Nuggets roster, and the choice is basically, do you roll out another rookie? Do you roll out Reggie Jackson, who's not a great defender, but you don't need his defense in this series? Like, the Lakers don't have that many threats, so you could put him out there for playmaking and hide him. The Nuggets actually ran that 3-guard lineup with Reggie, Bruce, and Jamal for a few minutes when Reggie was playing, which I found interesting because it just simply did not work in the regular season. So I think you can get away with that in this game these games because the Lakers run 3 guards. The adjustment I would more like to see is Vlatko Čančar and Zeke to get more involved. I don't know if that comes at the expense of Jeff Green or Christian Braun. But what is interesting too last night is once they decided Christian Braun was not part of the rotation, it wasn't like they added somebody else. Michael Malone just simply said, what if our non-Jokic minutes simply don't happen? Let's just continue to play Jokic. And I don't think that's sustainable over the course of this series because they're playing every other day. But the NBA Finals is going to be every 2 days. There's going to be 2 days off between the games. So there's a chance that this Nuggets 8-man rotation shrinks down to really like a 7-man rotation with maybe quick spurts of 2 minutes of like Reggie and Peyton and Zeke or Christian involved not heavily. But that means you're going to play Michael Porter Jr. at the 4, and you're going to play Aaron Gordon serious minutes. You're going to be playing Aaron Gordon 42, 44 minutes a game.
Well, Murray played 42, probably should have been closer to 39. Jokic played 41, 57, probably should have been closer to 38. Jake, you're right. I mean, it's just, between Reggie Jackson and Christian Brown, you got in 7.5 minutes. Okay. So you're really looking to close that gap. And Christian was playing, around 8 minutes a game. So that's how that all got sucked up. This isn't like the biggest deal in the world, which is exactly why I actually agree with Jake. I would rotate in like Zeke, or for me, it'd be Vlatko, because I think Vlatko would be okay defensively enough, but he's the worst player on the court, and he's going to get 3 wide open 3-pointers. Christian Brown is incapable of hitting one of those right now, and Vlatko is a better 3-point shooter than Christian or Zeke. But we are talking about some small moments, guys. But there's small moments that mean a lot. Like if Jeff Green hits a 3, it means a lot. If Vlatko could hit a 3, that's just one bucket that you don't have to rely on MPJ, Murray, or Jokic. That means a lot too, because again, the other team has to respect it. They don't respect Christian Brown. Frankly, the Nuggets really don't respect LeBron James from the outside right now. So it's working kind of both ways.
True. All right, Jake, this one's for you. What inspired you to be a journalist?
I was not very good at playing sports, and I wanted to be involved in sports. And
Fair enough.
I grew up listening to DMAC, and I wanted to be in sports talk radio, and I loved sports talk radio, but I realized that no one would give me airtime. So the easiest way in was just to start writing and just put it out on the internet. And the thing is, I'm dyslexic, so I feared writing. I hated writing earlier on in my life, and I just kind of overcame that in college. And I've always been rather affable. I don't mind talking with people, so that part of it is not hard. But I know for a lot of people in this industry, it's not necessarily easy to just go up to people and be like, hey, what's going on here? Which is basically our job. Me and DMAC just stumble around to different places going, what's happening here? And then we scribble our thoughts, or in DMAC's case, he talks into a microphone. But that's how I became a journalist.
A legend, DMAC. Look at you.
I, unlike Jake, was incredibly successful at athletics. But
that's soccer player.
Listen, I could have played college sports. I could have played college baseball or soccer at kind of medium to low level. But I loved the concept of radio in particular. And that's kind of morphed. I didn't know when I was getting into radio what digital media would actually be or mean. So working with guys like you and Jake and Will and James and everybody on the digital side has been so amazing for me, because it's incredible to keep repeatedly falling in love with what you've always wanted to do that's taken crazy new shapes. And working with younger people, I talk about not feeling my age. I just try to avoid mirrors or hearing Jake say, I grew up listening to DMAC. I try to avoid moments like that because I feel like, I don't know, I think I fit in with you guys. I hope I do. I strive to.
You do. And actually, you have more energy than I do. Jake, maybe not, because he stays up till 3 a.m. in the morning, but you have more energy than I do.
DMAC were texting till 3 a.m. in the morning.
Those are literally crazy. Oh, my God. One more. Why is Rachel wearing a jacket in her house? Isn't it hot? It's just a little vest. It's not actually a jacket. I promise I'm not full-blown jacket. And then I
think you look cool. I think a good puffy. Look at the weather. We are in perpetual winter here in Colorado. When did we become Seattle all of a sudden?
Since we got Russell Wilson.
Oh my gosh, Jake. Okay, good one. Last one. Tonight's game. Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. Who you got, Jake?
Oh, the Celtics have to win this game. If the Celtics don't win this game, we're definitely seeing Miami next week. I'm going to say the Celtics take it, but I do not feel good about that pick because the Celtics are a great team in terms of their ceiling, but they constantly find ways to lose. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say the Celtics are the better team and win tonight and even this up at 1-1.
The Celtics have a great player and a couple of like really good players. They will win tonight, and it wouldn't surprise me if they win relatively handily. They also have a head coach who looks like he wants to fight everybody perpetually.
True.
This is not a functional team. It's not. But they're, I think, a better team than the Heat. The problem they have is Jimmy Butler is wow. I mean, it's the East, so we haven't paid as much attention to it.
Yeah.
But next to Jokic, Jimmy Butler may be the best player in this entire playoffs.
Yep.
So that's a problem. And they got a lot of attitude. And very similar to the Nuggets, they've got a coach in Eric Spoelstra who's been with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of matters. But the Celtics are they are a better team, okay? What do you got?
You see that? There's Jokic all the way up there on the top left.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Butler is down here. So Jimmy Butler has been the second best player in the playoffs, but Jokic is currently lapping the field according to NBA math.
Yeah.
Math. Yeah.
I'm going to be taking the Heat tonight.
Wow.
It's a toss-up between your head and your heart, right? I'm like, Boston should win this one, but I feel like the Heat are going to do it. So
let me say real quick, my heart is with the Celtics because it might be a fun excuse to go visit the parents and cover, that. I'm going to put that to the side, okay? I am going to put that to the side because it's much more important that the Nuggets actually win the NBA championship. And you just can't ignore how effective they've been at home. You can't ignore that. And I have full respect for the Heat. That's probably a 6 or 7 game series. But the truth of the matter is I don't know how you beat the Nuggets at home. Nobody has figured it out. Teams have tried it in all sorts of ways, and it just hasn't happened. You have home court against the Heat. You don't against the Celtics. Sorry, Peter and Eileen. I'll see it at another time. I'll go home, I promise, at some point. But let's go Heat.
We love
if the Heat win tonight, like you said, me and you should book flights for June 5th to Miami tonight. I'll put it that way.
Miami.
Jake, you could dress up as a flight attendant. That would be another fun costume at the bachelorette party.
On that note, Jake's going to go to LA this weekend, so make sure you follow us on social media. We're not going to have any bachelor.
Maybe the guy that does this?
Yeah, we're not going to do that for sure. But anyways, follow us all, denversports.com. We love you all so much. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Tomorrow, Nuggets Game 3 in Los Angeles. Like I said, Jake will be there, so make sure you follow him. And we'll see you guys Monday morning, 10:30 a.m. for another episode of Coffee Break. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. See ya.